I brought a friend up here one day and we hiked this entire drainage, and we spent all day up here and it was a lot of fun. We found tons of beautiful quartz of all different colors, a lot of mica, a lot of pyrites. My friend found a outcropping, a little deposit of copper. We found a little bit of iron, and we found a really neat hematite outcropping. So a lot of cool stuff up in here. But the neatest thing we saw was this. This is a core hole, and this is an old core hole. This is done by hand with the hand drill. And my friend and I did our due diligence. We hiked all over around this area just to make sure there was no core drilling or government surveyors working, and nothing like that. No sign of human activity except this. And this rock, you got a lot of light pinks, some darker pinks, a few spots of red, some black mixed in with it. A lot of this stuff you see is lichen growth. And then you have some mudstone deposits here, 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 here. And I had no idea what this rock is, or why some old prospector would go through such trouble to hand drill it to take a core sample. And while we're looking around in the area, we found this, a really neat antique bottle. And it has the wire attached to it. And that's probably where, or how the old prospector attached it to his bib overalls or his belt loop, but almost in perfect condition. So we got two mysteries: the core hole and the bottle. All right, beginning with the rock. Why would a prospector come all the way up here? We're in a very remote area, and take a sample of this rock. What's so special about this rock? And I have no idea what the rock is. One thing I use, there's these applications, and you can subscribe to them. They help you identify rocks, and they're not very expensive. They're like $20 to $30 a year. And how they work is you upload an image of the rock in question, and they use artificial intelligence to scan the rock, and the AI helps identify the rock, or at least point you in the right direction. And so when I got home, I started uploading images to the AI, and the AI kept telling me it was rhodonite, and I'd never even heard of rhodonite. I had no idea what that was. So I started researching it, and rhodonite's a rare mineral, and it's found in only a few locations around the earth. And one of those locations happened to be Colorado, where we are now. And while I was doing research, there's a mine about 54 miles from here as a bird flies. And one of the secondary minerals of this mine is rhodonite. So it is a deposit in this general area. And rhodonite is a gemstone. They use it to make jewelry. And it does have monetary value, but not a whole lot. When I was looking on eBay, it sells for about $20 a pound. But rhodonite has the potential to contain these small, red, transparent crystals. And these crystals sell for, it was $100 to $120 a carat, and that's uncut. And to put that in perspective, that's about 7 to 8 times more valuable than gold. So now we know why the old prospector came up here and took the sample, if in fact this rock is rhodonite, which there's probably a good chance it is. The bottle was really neat, and that was really easy to research. Luckily, it had the patent right on the bottom of the bottle. And that bottle was made by the Owens, Illinois Glass Company in the 1930s and 1940s. And they would sell those bottles to pharmacists. And pharmacists would put medicine in the bottle, stick a label on it, and that's how you got your medicine. And So what probably happened here about 80 to 90 years ago, an old prospector found this rock and he knew exactly what it was. He came back up here, took a core sample of it. While he was up here messing around, he dropped his medicine bottle. He went back to civilization, had the core assayed, and unfortunately for him, it didn't contain those crystals that he was hoping it would. And so at that point, he probably determined that it wasn't worth his time to come all the way back up here with a sledgehammer, a chisel, and buckets, and breaking this rock to pieces and hauling it all the way off the mountain. There just wasn't enough money in it. And so this rock's sat here for 80 or 90 years undisturbed. And due to the location we're in, it'll probably sit here for another 80 or 90 years. These are wild chickens. And during COVID, people bought a lot of chickens. And then after COVID, and after they'd raised chickens for a couple of years, they decided they didn't like raising chickens. So what they do now is they bring them up to the mountains and they just drop them off.
They're all roosters, though.
Food for the lions and coyotes. Well, I came back today to check up on our chicken friends to see how they're doing in their new environment. And I think we have our first victim. And you can see right here, you have chicken feathers everywhere. And these were not here yesterday because I walked right through here. And you can see kind of where a struggle took place here and there. And I think our predator was a badger. I'm pretty sure that's a badger track. So yeah, the chickens, they don't do too good out here in the wild. This site that we're looking at right now, I think is very special. This is an old Indian ceremonial sweat lodge. And it's a long hike up here. This is my second time coming here. I found this a while back. So if I'm breathing hard, you know why. But to kind of give you the lay of the land, we're on the side of a mountain, and this is an outcropping. And there's a canyon down below us. And at the bottom of this canyon, there's a stream. And where we're sitting or standing is surrounded by rock cliffs, rock outcroppings, and it's very steep. So this is kind of in an isolated area. And right here, you will see an old wall comes down just like that. And I've measured this wall, and it's 52 feet long and is definitely man-made. And this is not a hunting blind. If you were to put a hunting blind up here in this location, you'd probably starve to death before you ever killed anything. So I'm going to show you how this looks. And what I'm going to describe to you is my theory on how this site looked back then. You can see right here, I mean, that's a path that they've constructed, a rocked-in path. And keep in mind, this is not a trail. We're surrounded by cliffs and rock ledges. This is just a small path, and it's isolated right here to the location directly in front of you. And I believe what this path was used for is the men would stand on this path and prepare for the sweat, so they would get physically, mentally, and spiritually prepared prior to entering into the sweat lodge. And perhaps maybe they offered up prayers in the direction of the four winds, the four directions: north, south, west, and east. And that's a practice that's still used by tribes to this day. Right here at the end of this path, you'll see a circular structure, and it's kind of filled in over the centuries, but you can still see it where they've set up rocks to make a full circle right at the end of this path. And I think back then, right here is where the sweat lodge sat. And the sweat lodge was a small structure. Envision it's made of animal hide, sticks, kind of a dome shape. And the men would have easily have went down to the stream and brought water up to the site. Very interesting. And this is kind of why I started this YouTube channel, because I'll find stuff like this and I want to be able to share it with people, because I think these sites, they're special. And of course, you know, due to the nature of the site, you want to be respectful. But this is really cool. This is a part of our ancient past, our ancient history. And right over here, I found where they had stacked rock. And I don't know if this had something to do with the ceremonial fire. Perhaps, I'm really not sure. But the sweat lodge is right there. And then right here, we're only about 18 feet away. This is most definitely not natural. That rock did not deposit right there. When I find stuff like this, I don't move it around. I don't disturb it. So I don't know how deeply that rock is wedged in there. I don't know if it's helping to prop up the bigger rock. I don't know, but if you disturb stuff like that, you have a chance of destroying it. And then they did something similar with this one here. And then you have a old, it's hard to tell because of the lichen growth, but you have a stacked rock right there. So I think this, obviously due to its proximity to the sweat lodge, had something to do with their ceremony. But really cool stuff. I'm out here wandering around, and I was trying to make my way up to the top of this hill. I want to see what was up there. And I came across some beautiful red crystals. These crystals, they're quartz. And I'll try to give you a close-up of them. Hopefully this does it justice. Absolutely gorgeous. I know some people claim that these red quartz crystals have healing properties, something about your immune system. I'm not really into that kind of stuff. That's just what I've been told. One thing I am into is pretty rocks, and this is dang sure a beautiful rock. Look at that. Between 1860 and 1880, you had a lot of men come out to Colorado during the gold rush. And most of these men were fairly young. The median age was 28. And one of the first things they would have to do after they staked a claim was build some sort of structure to live in. And these structures were very primitive, and they were called dugouts. And these dugouts might have been just a simple hole in the ground, or they might have been a little more creative. But whenever I find these dugouts, I always try to take a close look around, because if you find a dugout, you're probably going to find something else interesting. And right here is a dugout I found not too long ago. And this will kind of give you an idea of what they look like. This one was a rock structure. I imagine he had wood on it also. But really neat. When you look at this and you think of how this man lived, you know, compared to like how I live today, and you can't help but marvel just at how much the world has changed in such a short period of time.